Welcome back to another 10 questions with Jamie. We're sitting with Dennis Anderson again this morning. Dennis, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Jamie. Good morning to you.
Yeah, thank you. As many of you viewers know, we're going through a series of questions. This is round 2. So the questions get a little more personal, a little more deeper into one's Christian journey. And this morning, by the end of our segment, we're going to, again, know Dennis just a little bit better than we did after round 1. So that being said, Dennis, can you tell the group when do you feel your Christian journey began?
Well, I had to think about that one. I don't think till 1980 how do I put this? My brothers and I, when we were small, we used to lay in the backyard. We had a couple acres, and 3 brothers and a sister. We'd look up in the sky and look at all the stuff, and we knew there was a God. We weren't brought up, like I said in my earlier times, there was no Bible in the house. And my parents didn't believe in going to church. But I always thought God was with me then. We got the Gideon Bible in grade 5, and we used to read it. We're just aware, I think aware that there's God, absolutely. But it wasn't until I was 30 that a friend come over and talked to me and told me about Jesus. I didn't know about Jesus. I didn't know you had to give your life to Christ. So I guess it would be robbery to think that I was a Christian before that. I don't know, that's up to God. But I gave my life and my wife a week later. And we led a really different life, I'll tell you. So it happened, I'm not even sure the month. I think it was June or July, but it was 1980.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's over 40 years.
Good.
It is 42. Yeah.
Wow. You know, I can kind of relate in a small sense to that too. My journey, you know, as a young child, always had the sense that there was a creator, a God, Christ was a part of that, but never really followed Christianity, you know, and it wasn't until later on in life that I actually, you know, took the step and, you know, invited Christ in, similar to what you just mentioned. So that's awesome. And it's great to hear when you were young and you didn't have a lot of exposure when you and your siblings were young, you just had this sense, this innate sense that, you know, there was a creator. God was there and he's done all this, right? So,
yeah.
And then it comes out to really help your Christian walk later in life as well.
It makes you feel good because then you understand it. We used to read the Bible verses, and we did that in school, you know. But school was a lot different then.
Yeah.
And, but they couldn't teach it. And that's how it was for me.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, thank you. Well, Dennis, given the beginning or the start of your journey, can you tell us when and where did you meet Jesus for the first time?
Yeah, I discussed that with my wife. That's a loaded question. Where did I meet Jesus? I don't know how to answer that, but I thought it was in my dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, I never personally seen Jesus. I'm not going to go
there. Yeah.
But in my sleep, particularly, it was 14 years later when my mother died, 1994. She had cancer, full of cancer. And I was living in BC then. I came back to Oshawa and I put a little scripture above her bed, Psalm 20 or Proverbs 23, when thou liest down, thy sleep shall be sweet. I got back to BC and she died. I had to know, did she go to heaven? And my mother had these thoughts about Christ. He always told us, He's watching you right now. We're kids, you know, growing up.
Yeah.
I think she was a believer, but she had a hard life. And that night I had a dream. And in my dream, I see my mother kind of, it's a dream, you know, up in the clouds. She was wearing white. She had gold hair. Her hair was blonde when she was young. And she was going around a circle, dancing peacefully. There was no music. And she was wearing this fabulous white gown and looking down at me, smiling. And it was so real. I said to my wife, I know my mom is okay.
Yeah.
And if you can call that about meeting Jesus, I think Jesus comforted me then. So that's all I can answer to that question.
Oh, that's excellent, and I to have, especially to have that on your thought process, of course, right? And to what a gift, you know, to be given that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I'd say that fits the question perfectly, Dennis. Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dennis, in your opinion, okay, what would you say is the most memorable event of your Christian journey?
Memorable event. Well, it had to go bad before it got good. I share this with a few people. Now I could share it with a lot of people. Pardon my voice. I was in real estate and was making a lot of money. So I had a big home and everything else and so on and so forth. And 1989, the market stopped, crashed. Well, I was kind of living by check to check. It's never going to stop. So I thought, I was 40 years old at the time. And long story short, lost everything I had. The house we were living in, cars, everything. I couldn't get a piece of bubble gum on a credit card because I never had a credit card anymore. Meanwhile, I was carrying around American Express gold and all this stuff, you know. So I'm just going to fast forward.
Yeah.
6 years later, when I went to BC, and I talked to this banker, must have been a Christian, and he listened to my whole story.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll tell you, son, I was 40, he was maybe my age. It's not all your fault. I was blaming myself. That's what you do. No, it's the banker's fault too for giving you that money to let you think it was never going to stop. They had no business doing that. So you spent the money. Now you're broke. Nothing I can do for you. So I'll give you a $1,000 credit card, but you need to give me $1,000 secured credit card. So I had this little job cleaning up with a stick, like back of the mall building.
Yeah.
Cleaning it up.
Mm-hmm.
Who was getting $8-10 an hour? That's in Kelowna, you see. There's a real estate rep there, you know, mall in front of me, and I looked at those guys. And I'd done that for almost 2 years. I got together $1,000 and I paid them, and now I had a credit card I valued. But during that time, I was going to church and I thought, boy, I let my family down. I got back to Oshawa instantly in a week. You know, I repented over and over. I became much better Christian. You know, to lose is to gain. That's what I'm thinking. So I gained everything back in a very short time, and more. It was a few months. And today, I have a house and a nice house, and I have no bills. I consider myself well off, but I give it all to the Lord. So the hard part, I think your question was, What was the question again?
The most memorable,
Yeah.
memorable moment or event in your Christian journey.
Well, that was an event. So the memorable event when I started seeing it all come back, I started crying every night. I said to my wife, we had everything go wrong, and now everything is going right. I mean, it could happen at any time. And I said, it's all God. It's all God replacing back, because I never turned my back on him.
Yeah, yeah.
I thanked him for being broke. It made me strong.
Well, you know, we all go through seasons, Christians and non-Christians, you know, everyone and in life. And, you know, I'm a firm believer that when we look upon some of these situations as, you know, negative, you know, there's a growing opportunity. And I think, you know, just listening to your story, what growth, you know, and desire and passion and everything else came from this, where if you had to just kind of maybe went down a little bit, not the whole way, would you come back stronger, or would you just kind of stay the course, right? And so, you know, tough times, there's usually positives in them, and I think your testimony right there is certainly one to acknowledge.
Definitely positives in them, because I felt like crying the whole time. I somehow knew he was going to pick me back up. That's it was an amazing story, really.
I was too young to be really directly involved in that, you know, the 80s kind of crash and interest rates through the roof. But I know enough, I've talked to enough people that have, you know, that were living it. They were middle-aged, and it was a very difficult time for a lot of families during that time. And, you know, to have it affect you in that way and then come back stronger does, you know, all while leaning on the Lord and never really turning your back is awesome.
I never turned my back. That banker, he was a Christian, I found out near the end.
Yeah.
And he turned out to be a good friend of mine.
Mm. Oh, good. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So there was a lot gained from that then. Awesome. Yeah.
I must have been directed to him. There's a lot of banks in Kelowna. I just thought, I'll pick this guy, and if he'll listen to me, I'm trying to get my credit card back. I didn't get it back easy.
No, but you got it back. That was the important thing. So that's good. That is.
No, I'm not lacking anything. It's
yeah.
I'll just stop there. It's real nice.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And if you haven't already somewhat answered this next question, I would ask you, can you share a time in your life when you felt the Holy Spirit working in your life specifically?
Yeah, of course, the last story. But from that story, when I went back into real estate, there was a whole lot of us that went down because I'd say 60% of us, and I've pretty much done the math, and I got to know who, I was one of the first guys to lose everything. So there's 300 agents in Oshawa at the time. And I'd say, I know 70 to 80 that went through the same and quit. Now, because I had that knowledge and I was bouncing back, my broker asked, could you share your story, Dennis, with this person or that person? And they'd come in, they'd know me, of course, and I'd share the story. But it's how I got back. It gave me an opportunity to tell them it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And that, what do you mean it wasn't you? Penny told me to come and talk to you. I said, no, it was God. It was Jesus Christ. They're looking at me strange. And I shared my testimony. So that was years later, and that's the benefit, some of the benefits of having that happen to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's, to pass the word on and glorify God is, should be our focus.
Yeah.
And that certainly is, again, going through hardships, overcoming them, sharing that experience, uplifts others, encourages others, right? So
Yeah.
That's what it's about. So,
am I like this side of my face too dark?
nope, nope, you're good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I throw that in. I'm using my old computer again.
Yeah, no, it's all good. You look sharp.
You bet.
That is in a conversation with someone who has never heard about God, what would you say about God from your experiences?
Well, you're asking, the way I take this question is you're asking someone, yeah, it's never heard about God. How do you introduce them to God?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I always use a few scriptures, and I usually ask them, do you believe in eternal life? And they go, what do you mean? And they talk about it. I said, well, look, why would you want to be a good boy for nothing? For nothing. Romans has a verse, Romans 2, about your conscience. And I read that to them. And I said, what are you doing? Let's see if you're a good boy to start with. And they'd tell me, wow, you know, we get us. Well, would you beat anybody up? Would you hit anybody? Are you violent? No. Well, you're going to die sometime. You're doing all that for nothing? Look at the plants. You think there's any good things out there? So I try to talk to them that way and to help bring them around to Christ. But the best witness you have is yourself. My brother Wayne had said that from General Motors. It was the last day he was working, and Wayne refrains from everything, the jokes, the bad language, just the absence of it. And this guy come up to him the last day he worked, and he said, there's something different about you. I aim to find out what it is, but I don't know what it is. And I don't know what Wayne said. He's a quiet type. And I thought, all that years of GM, he hated working there. But he set a great example. So the best way is to set an example. I try, but I'm a humorous guy, and I think I can get carried away with my humor.
That's okay. You know, it's good to have a laugh, share a laugh. Sometimes that's the best icebreaker too in a situation, is to share a laugh with somebody, right? So yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, I think that's a great way. You know, and I like how, you know, I've been in similar situations where you just kind of, how do you explain everything? This all came from a rock that we evolved from it. Like it's you know, teach their own, but I just find that a lot harder to have faith in something like that than you would in a creator, right? So that was a great example that you had mentioned. Yeah,
you know, I mean, I can't make a bird's nest. I can't build a beaver dam. Apparently, a beaver dam is kind of like a spider dam. It's mathematically, it doesn't look like it with all the logs, but it's perfect.
Right. Yeah.
I read that somewhere. Might be true. I can't make a beaver. I can't build a nest.
Yeah.
We can send men to the moon and back. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. There's so many miracles and wonders in this world, and there's definitely a designer. So now, moving on, Dennis. This is a good question. I like to hear the responses from most. What would you say is one of your greatest strengths and one of your greatest weaknesses in your Christian journey?
Weaknesses, strength. I have a lot of compassion. This is a strength for the hungry and the destitute. I really do. I go up, I meet with my nephew. He's a multi-millionaire. He owns a golf course. But he's a real humble guy. He is a Christian. I think it's kind of nice talking to him. So in Kingston, you get those guys on the street, you know,
Yep.
I stopped and I talked to them. And I always had some loonies, or maybe even a 5. Can't do much with a loony.
Yeah.
And, what do you need, son? What do you need, sir? I need $2. What for? Well, they make up. Now let me get that for you. Really? Yeah. So I'll get them a submarine sandwich or something. You can hear when I come back. And my nephew would go, what are you doing that for? I said, Matt, come on, you know how I feel about these guys. Have been hungry myself. I can't stand looking at somebody hungry. And we used to really be hungry when we were young. We had a time. So that really bothers me and it touches me. And it says in the Bible, I saw you were hungry and I fed you. Now, same kind of people can trigger my anger. If they don't want to work and they're using the system, then I'm on a judgment thing here. I'm not supposed to judge people. I don't care for the extreme leftist people's views. I kind of judge them people, and I don't want to do that. It's okay to pray for them. Yeah. People who just don't want to work, it bothers me.
Yeah, it's very common to slip into, judgment from time to time. I mean, especially when we see wrongdoings and some of these people that, we feel are doing, or their intentions are not genuine, right? And so, it's kind of hard to sit there and just, smile and say, oh, it's okay, and it's, obviously it's something we got to do because it's not our job to judge, of course, and we're going to get judged how we've been judging others. So try to stay away from that. But
but we're supposed to talk to them.
Yeah,
I was at a Harbor Lights in Toronto. I don't know, you know where that is. It's Salvation Army place.
Yep.
I used to go there with my mentor, Ozzy, when I was the first Christian.
Yep.
And they make the people listen to the message. Then they feed them.
Yeah.
And we're saying how great God is and all this stuff. Well, you get the odd guy comes to you at the end. Can you take me home? You say you're a Christian. I've got nowhere to go. Right. My mom and dad are dead. And the story just gets worse.
Yeah.
I had to go to Ozzy. Sorry, what am I saying? I got a wife and 2 girls that are growing up. You have to say that. They have to trust God. That way they're trusting us. So I put it in that frame of mind.
Yep. And just to point out, just like Moses, Abraham, he took on everything. He took on everything, and all of a sudden, everything was hurting, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until there was delegation, certain things for certain people, and then all of a sudden, wow, look how well this works. Right.
Yeah.
And so as Christians, we all, listen, if we have answers, we wish we could share them. But I mean, not all of us have the answers for those particular situations, right? And there's going to be stuff come up where we're just, it breaks our heart. We can't help you. We can't offer any help. I hope you get that help. But unfortunately, I'm not the one to do that because it's not my gift or whatever.
Yeah. I look around at people that, we have a lot of really nice people in this neighborhood.
Yep.
And, they'd help me if I needed something. Nice people. But nice people don't go to heaven. Saved people go to heaven. So a pastor taught me. I found it kind of hard to swallow that one, but I'm just glad I'm not the judge.
That's not my job either.
No.
That's neat. That's good. I'm glad you could share both your strengths and weaknesses with us. That was great. And this next one is kind of an extension, a little bit about it.
Yeah, I know what's that. Yeah.
What do you find the hardest part of being a Christian today?
Well, that could be quite personal.
Yep.
But, some of those old time things were fun. There's no getting around it. What are old time things, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Out with the guys, laughing and hooting and hollering and playing these little tricks and on each other that are actually harmful.
Yeah.
But we were brought up with a sense of humor. My dad was a real rocket for that.
Right.
I can't think of anything in particular, but I know it was wrong. Some of these things that were morally wrong.
Definitely know where you're going with this. I can relate on some sense, especially at the very beginning of my journey. You definitely have to turn your back on things and say goodbye to certain aspects of one's life. And when you become accustomed to something, or that's kind of in your routine, sometimes these things can be hard, right? Just to get up.
Like 30 or 40 years ago, when I was a Christian, I might have yielded to, and I did, to a few things until I got away from it. Being a good Christian takes years. The age that I'm at, I thank God for it, because I just see more sense in refraining from those fun things. So, but I still think of it kind of strange. But that's I blame it on the devil getting thoughts into my head.
The enemy's very powerful too. Yes.
Then it says in James, well, you're going to think about it, because that's the devil's job. He's got a job to do, but only when you yield to it. When you do it, you're committed sin. Of course, there's other parts in the Bible if you even think it. So, yeah, those thoughts are still with me, and I fight them.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lifelong thing for most people that have done a transition like that. And that's great to share with us. We appreciate that. Like you had mentioned, some of these things get pretty personal, so we appreciate that reference. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Dennis, when or where are you most likely to be aware of God's presence in your life?
It's pretty easy for me. I like to drive a lot, even though gas is like $2 a gallon, a liter. We go for short drives now. You don't have to drive far. So I look at a tree, Murphy's Point, down that way, down the road 21, I think it is. We get down there and we look at the trees, and we get out, we walk through the bush, and we do this 2 or 3 times a week, my wife and I. And we look at all the birds and things like that. Don't tell me there's no God. We look at a tree that's dead and we'll relate it to life. And then we'll go to Rideau Ferry maybe and look at the waters. It's the creation. Wow. It's when I see God more or feel God more, it's at night when I pray. I'm laying in the bed and I feel like he's right next to me. And that's a nice closing for the day. I really believe he created every blade of grass, every flower, everything around here. So I see him outside all the time.
Nature's a wonderful way. Many people are going to have that same response, I think. I spend quite a bit of time in the car, so that's a point for me that I feel his presence. And early in the morning, you're similar. You said later in the evening when you kind of get involved in scripture and stuff. I'm kind of the morning side of that, so I can relate on that level as well, where the time away, the quiet time, before the world really gets going. I find that that's where I can really connect.
Amen. How can you miss it?
That's great. Yeah. Now, Dennis, one more question, and I'm very excited to from everybody that comes on here for round two. You know, it's a hypothetical question, of course, but it's just, you know, trying to see what that would be. And that would be when you get to heaven, Dennis, and you had the opportunity to ask God one question. What would that question be?
I thought about that for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I came up with something very simple.
Yeah.
My brother died, and I love him.
Yep.
And I think the first question I asked, is my brother here? It sounds kind of elementary, I guess, but
I think it's a wonderful question. I think everyone that steps in here, anyone that chooses to answer that question is going to have something very specific. And I think it's going to be amazing to hear all the responses. And, you know, I've had one, you know, say, well, I'm not going to have any questions because I'm in heaven, right? And that's true enough.
Yeah,
but, you know,
I thought of that too.
Hypothetically,
you know, you could ask a question like if he sits you down, is there anything you'd like to know? How'd you come around here, God? I mean, when did all this start? Can I see the end? Is there an end to the world?
Yeah.
It's wonderful to be here. And then I might ask, I'm always thinking I'm going to go ahead of my daughters and my granddaughters because of my age. Right. And I'd be going, are my daughters okay down there? Are they suffering without me? Because I have to know.
You don't want to think about that, you know. I mean, it's tough to know you're not around anymore, and you know, on Earth, of course, and you know, the rest of your family. Right?
There's one thing I'd like him to say, though. Well done, my good and faithful servant. That would be nice.
Yeah, it would be. Amen. Again, yeah. That's awesome. I loved all your responses, Dennis. Every one of them were great and specific to you, which is awesome. I do want to thank our viewers again for following us again for round two. We're very excited to bring it to the group again, and I'm sure all of our guests are just as excited to share more of their journey. So, Dennis, thank you again for spending some time with me today. I had a wonderful time with you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, with you too, Jamie. It's nice that you keep doing these things that I think it helps us stay together as a unit, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. I look forward to talking with you. I really do.
That's awesome. And same, mutual. And to be honest with you, I hope we can have many rounds of this.
Yeah.
Even if you can only go so deep into one's journey, but I mean, just having the same group and we can come up with other things, it's great. Like I said, it keeps us connected. The world is busy. Some of our guests are part of Asbury and we see them on the weekends, and sometimes they're not. And this is a good way to stay connected if we don't get to see them as much as we'd like to, right? So yeah. So, well, that being said, thank you again to our viewers for viewing in, taking us in today. Again, Dennis, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
And we look forward to bringing more action for you guys.
I'll drive safely, Jamie.
God bless.
Bye-bye.